So just talking a little bit about what are we going to look at today. You'll get to meet me again. We'll talk a little bit more about why your clients need cyber insurance. I really want to go back and discuss a little bit of the difference between a target of choice versus a target of opportunity. If you're getting sick of hearing me talk about that, you're going to hear it again and again. I truly believe that is the best way for us to explain to our small business clients why they need a cyber policy. We'll have a substantial amount of time to really dive into a claims calculator and really show, even on the small side with a small employee base, small amount of revenue, and records managed, how large a claim could be. If we have some time, we'll look over a risk assessment again. And I do really, with the claims calculator in mind, want to leave a substantial portion at the end for Q&A. So with that, again, I'm Brennen. It's a very old picture. Sorry, I need to get an updated one. But as you know, I'm a dad of 3. I'm a husband. I affectionately call myself an insurance nerd. I've spent 8 to 9 years in the industry. I was a State Farm agent. I was an independent agency owner for several years and jumped over to the MGA carrier side here in January. I like to tell our brokers on webinars that I've been where you are. I've been in the seat producing agency owner, and I understand how much work goes into building a credible brand in your market. And that's one reason why when we planned all the marketing, we wanted the opportunity to get in front of you every week or every other week to talk cyber topics. This is a new emerging product. And while we see heavy adoption in middle and large commercial markets, we've seen relatively low adoption in small business markets across the industry. And at Attune, we really believe that this is one of the most important products we're selling right now, considering claims and how they can really affect and put our small business owners out of business. So that's a little bit about me. I wanted to just, again, thank everybody for their partnership throughout our cyber launch. We've had an incredibly successful month here in August, and I'm so excited to see the continued progress from you, our brokers, in September. As when we go back in time in January and February, a lot of you here actually participated in our cyber insurance survey. And it's really helped us plan and mold how we launched our product, what materials, tools, services that we've given through the portal. And we want to continue growing our resource library for you. So as we go through this, when you're dealing with me and Morgan, with my team, please let us know if there's anything we can do to better enable you to sell this great new product. Great. So quick recap of what we talked about last week. I really love talking about these 4 key differentiators of Coalition. And I think one of the best ways to describe it is to talk about holistically from start to finish, how a Coalition policy can help your customer before, during, and after a claim. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat today. So, before a claim, remember that through our active monitoring services provided for every Coalition policyholder, your insureds are getting real-time feedback on the security of anywhere they touch the public internet. If there are any kind of breaches, open ports, your insureds will receive instant alerts via Coalition Control. Remember, no software needs to be downloaded. This can be pushed through emails, text alerts that can also come in real time through notifications inside Coalition Control. We provide on-demand security support, tools, services, training. And really what's cool is there's a lot of free training and services embedded in Coalition Control. We've also partnered with some of the industry-leading vendors on security trainings and implementation, so you can receive like heavily discounted access to some of the nation's top providers. Now let's talk, that's before a claim, right? These are all things we are doing to help mitigate a claim happening. However, it's inevitable that cyber breaches are going to happen. That's where Coalition's instant response team comes in and is so valuable. This is 24/7 internal coverage from Coalition with a 5-minute response time average. And I think the most impactful, 46% of incidents that are touched by Coalition's instant response team are handled with no expense to your insured. And yes, that means that even if you selected a retained limit on this policy, oftentimes we are able to handle these breaches with no cost, which is incredible value. And I don't know of many carriers that will come in and expend effort and leave no cost with your insured. So I think that's really high impact. Now, after the claim, what is Coalition doing post-claim to keep your insured protected and whole? Coalition can protect the entire value of the business. We're not just protecting the network. Our insurance policy protects the entire business with coverage for financial losses and liability that can come from cyber incidents, tech failures, or even something as simple as like a privacy violation. We'll offer extended business interruption services, reputation repair, and this is truly insurance that you and your insureds can depend on, from the financial security of, I think everybody's pretty familiar with our backers with Swiss Re, ARC, and Lloyd's of London, of course. And I know everybody here is familiar with Lloyd's. Last week, we also did a quote demo. I have a couple of screenshots embedded here just as a quick review so you know where to go to find certain things in Portal. We'll do a nice coverage overview here, go through line items that are on our policy. I'll help with some definitions, some additional peril definitions, because oftentimes it's hard to sell a policy without gaining a full scope of understanding of what we're protecting against. And then, of course, we did the nice appetite overview last week as well. So hopefully this is a familiar look to everyone here. And right here, you can see a great snapshot of the Attune portal. So I'd be remiss if I didn't just give everybody a friendly reminder of, in this accounts tab, we'll come in and show you any account that you've created or quoted with Attune. The $ here is our invoice library, where any outstanding, past due, or paid invoices will be present. Our support center is really comprehensive. We're constantly adding things, refining this. You're able to find policy forms, enhancements, appetite guides. You're also able to chat into our wonderful customer care team for support. We do have a reward center. So you'll see if you have yet to quote cyber before and you choose to quote your first cyber insurance quote and submit it, I'm pretty sure you'll get some Insure coin there. And ultimately, the settings tab is also really helpful as well, whether you need to add new users to your Attune access point or make any changes to something like your W-9. Next, you'll see the account page after you've quoted. So you'll see here, this on the left here, we have a zoomed in version. So we have a Coalition quote letter and the risk assessment below. And this is just a little bit more zoomed out version. Keep in mind that as you're in the portal, you hit view details and it'll drop you right into this place where you can find quote letters, documents, risk assessments, application inputs, and more. Again,
I'm just gonna pause you for 2 seconds. Don just asked a question. Can Attune offer monoline cyber? And the answer is yes, that is exactly what we're talking about today. So you're in the right place.
Yeah, an overwhelming, resounding yes. We would love for you to quote standalone cyber. Thanks for the question. And so you can see here in the invoices tab, the reason that I include this, if you sold our bot before, this is a very familiar view to you. Know that cyber policies you sell through the Attune portal, the invoices will all populate here as well. This is a direct bill offering through Attune. As far as I am aware, this is the only access point where you can quote, sell, have full bind authority on Coalition, and directly bill your insured and not go through, sometimes I feel like, the hassle of an agency bill process. Much cleaner, credit card payments. As of right now, I typically get this question. As of right now, we do not offer installments for cyber. This is a paid in full policy. And I saw one more question, two actually. Luis, in terms of an insurance tax office, we could absolutely do. DMV registration, I'd have to check on. We typically don't have much tolerance for government entities. However, with the DMV, I mean, we could chat about it. Keep in mind, one thing I love now about the Attune portal, and I always loved when I was a broker selling through Attune, is that when Attune declines, we typically do so fast and early. So recommend use that keyword search function, and we should be able to tell you very quickly right in the portal. And then I see a question here from Ramon. Oh, thanks, Hunt. And Austin, we should be able to facilitate that. I know that we have an agency bill option. Feel free to chat right into our customer care team and we should be able to set that up. All right. I love all the questions here. I'm going to take one more. I'll get through a couple more slides and then I'll grab a few more. A private school. Mary, we, much like with government, oftentimes we have some risk tolerance issues with education. However, I do highly recommend plugging that into the keyword search function of the portal, start to finish, from account creation all the way to the quote submit button. I estimate a quote for cyber takes about 5 minutes. But great question. I really appreciate you chatting in there. So yeah, hey, you will find cyber invoices living right here inside of the invoices tab, just like normal. And so as we discussed last week, I mean, digital technology has really changed the way we work. At the risk of being repetitive, we'll just briefly discuss again our remote culture, working from home, working from a cell phone, a tablet, from your backyard, or as I am today in my basement in St. Louis, Missouri. We're connected to work more frequently through more technology options. I think one of the largest exposures we see here is trading in our filing cabinets for cloud storage. And with that, we face new kinds of risks. And what we really know is that a cyber attack or a breach can change your client's world in just minutes. All it takes is the click of a link. I think we all know that feeling of playing chicken with a phishing link, and that feeling of uncertainty can really resonate through your organization. What I know is it's not a question of if somebody's going to click the wrong thing. It's a question of when. Even the best trained employees can get tricked. And with that in mind, I wanted to jump right into why small businesses need cyber insurance. I think that's a sentiment we all feel from the small business customer base. Oh, Brennen, cyber policies are really created for large organizations that have huge swaths of data that are really valuable to hackers. And what our clients are really thinking of here is a target of choice. And I have a snapshot here of Amazon, right? AWS, I feel like at this point, AWS runs every server ever, everywhere. And while I know that's not the case, Amazon and AWS could be a huge target of choice. But with a large organization like Amazon, they're going to have huge security measures in place. They're going to have teams of employees monitoring security day to day. And while Amazon could technically be a data or breach gold mine, it's also really difficult to get inside of their walls, right? Now, that's where our small business owners come in, and they are more of a target of opportunity. These attacks are really automated to scale so that little mom and pop shops are very attractive to them. More often than not, these threat actors are resourceful, and they really try to capitalize their efforts on these targets of opportunity that require the least amount of effort to exploit. And this could be due to a business's negligence in implementing secure cyber parameters, or protecting any internet-facing assets. What this means is that cyber criminals often orient attacks towards targets of opportunity rather than choice like they used to. Unfortunately, for a lot of businesses, regardless of size or industry, their largest exposures are the exploitable loopholes, or I guess lack of controls, that the cyber criminals can easily pick up on and monetize. Not only is tech getting smarter, so are the hackers targeting these small businesses. And oftentimes we see this happen on or around times where small businesses by industry make the majority of their revenue. And if you were here in the previous 2 weeks, think like a small florist the week before Valentine's Day. Unfortunately, this is a trend that is growing year over year. Now, let's just, before we dive into the actual calculator here, let's just talk a little bit about average claims. This is based on internal data from our most recent claims surveys. So the average ransom demand made against coalition policyholders in 2021 was 1.2 mil. The average loss for our policyholders was $160,000. And we've seen a 57% increase in claims targeting small businesses with less than 250 employees. Now, as we see our traditional P&C market hardening right now, specifically on property, this trend is also really rampantly present in the cyber market. We see claims activity in the cyber insured space rising exponentially, and loss control management is more important than ever. And so cyber insurance in general protects businesses from all kinds of digital risks. We know that BOP, general liability, professional liability, protects clients from tangible risks and perils that we're very familiar with. Cyber protects your clients in a more holistic tech manner. And at this point, in this day and age, with the evolution of the market, BOP, a GL, even with an endorsement, can sometimes be lacking and won't be broad enough. And that's really why standalone cyber policies exist. That's why this market has been growing so quickly. They've been crafted to provide coverage for all the various loss exposures that companies face, first and third party, that could result from a cyber incident. And so I know I offered earlier, and I really want to take a couple of minutes and talk through the perils. So what is ransomware? And before I give an answer, does anybody in the chat want to take a crack at a ransomware definition? You don't have to.
Brennan, while you're waiting for that, we have one question in the Q&A, which I think is a good one. Don asked, can Attune write the cyber for, I'm going to reword that.
I see it. No, you're good. I see it right here.
Can
Attune write the cyber
yes,
for risk that isn't eligible on BOP?
yes.
Absolutely, we can. A great question. And this is not a knock or a bad thing about our BOP, but our cyber appetite is extremely broad. And I like to explain it in the same manner I used to explain the difference between an HO3 and an HO5 to my policyholders. Our cyber appetite is so broad, it's far easier for me to explain to you what we don't want to take a look at than it is for me to explain what we do. With that in mind, I will get there in just a moment on appetite, if that's okay. Morgan, remind me here. We'll really lean in on appetite here in just a moment.
Yeah.
And I see Dalton.
Yes.
Yeah. Dalton, ransomware is a program that can either take over or access a business owner's systems and lock the owner out. High five, hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right. A hacker has encrypted all of your files and they won't unlock them till you pay the ransom. Not to worry, a coalition will cover the cost to restore your data and we'll get you up and running again as quickly as possible. Hey, thanks so much, Dalton, for answering that one. Next, another big one we see, wire fraud and social engineering. This is actually, as of right now, our fastest growing peril in the market. Wire fraud, social engineering. You could also see, I see a lot of people call this funds transfer fraud. So a funds transfer request is sent into the business owner by someone pretending to be the CEO of a vendor. Now, the funds may get sent, they may be out the door, but as of yet, you're not out of pocket. Coalition will have you covered. And to date, I believe the figure I saw last week, we're successfully able to claw back 66% of fraudulently collected funds from a social engineering attack. So it's pretty cool to see our tech team be able to claw that money back so efficiently. And then finally, another peril we see growing rapidly is the phishing and data breach. A hacker gains access to an employee's email or breaches into your network. We'll cover the cost to fix the problem and breach-related expenses I mentioned earlier through regulation, right? Through fees required by regulators like credit monitoring, regulatory penalties, et cetera. Oh, I see a question here from Andrew Yang. Hi, Andrew. Why is a standalone cyber policy better than an endorsement for cyber liability offered with GL policy? Good question. I wouldn't say that it's better. I would say that it's broader. So Coalition's cyber policy, for instance, covers several additional perils and additional things that can happen to your insured that wouldn't be covered by a boilerplate cyber endorsement. Thanks for the question there, Andrew. And so, hey, with that in mind, why don't we jump into some coverage here? Great. And Monica, this is right on theme with what we just talked about with FTF. So what about coverage on a single real estate transaction, coverage for a buyer who is wiring funds for closing? This is exactly what we're talking about here. Now, specifically with Coalition's policy, our FTF limit caps at 250K. But considering, I don't know, just like reasonable wire requests, we will not see many wire requests going on in the small business market that's over 250K. Okay. Another thing to keep in mind here, Monica, and I don't want to go too far into it because I'm not a CPCU or a claims rep. But typically we see a title company facilitating these wires that is going to have their own title insurance. All right. So diving right into a little bit more coverage here, let's talk through our third-party coverages. So as we know, these third-party coverages, this is liability to people affected by the cyber breach, not affiliated with the business. So these are not W-2 employees of the business. And we have coverage like network and info security liability, liability, regulatory defense and penalties, multimedia content, PCI fees. The surprising one to me when I touched this policy was BIPD. And then through our surplus product, we have tech E&O available as well. So specifically like these PCI fines, right? Let's say that systems are breached and you're insured, or maybe you as the insurance agent have a breach in your systems and a lot of personal credit card info is leaked. Well, in addition to, restoring system access, regaining your records, on the back end, when this is reported, you're going to get hit with some PCI regulatory fees, which will actually be covered by the Coalition policy. So it's just one example. Another one, the BIPD is always, I think for me, kind of a, whoa, how does cyber cover bodily injury and property damage? And while I feel that this coverage is really set up and designed for manufacturers, as cyber evolves, I do think we'll see more businesses purchasing this. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a microchip processor, and they have robust computer systems running all of the mechanical component creation in the factory. These systems are hacked through a breach, and I'm seeing like robot arms in my head, like swinging around, and a contractor, a 1099 contractor, is out servicing some equipment. They get knocked off of a ladder and are severely injured. We would actually have bodily injury liability coverage to cover this specific peril of a breach in their system. So it's interesting to see as the industry has evolved, we've even created peril-based coverage for things like bodily injury and property damage there as well. Now, let's go on and talk a little bit about first-party coverage here.
Yeah, it looks like Austin asked a question here, but I think you're going to answer that.
Thank you.
So I didn't want to like.
Oh, thank you.
But
hey, thanks for this one, Austin. We are right there. So in regards to first party coverage, of course, we'll have some BIPD, pollution coverage, breach response is the big one, crisis management and public relations to help protect your brand integrity in your market after claim. As Austin mentioned, computer replacement, or I think sometimes on paper, depending on your state, you'll see this as computer bricking coverage. Let's say that a hacker breaches into some systems, is unsuccessful in ransoming your data, and decides to fry a lot of your hardware on their way out. Well, at Coalition, we've thought of that, and we want to cover and help you rebuild servers or replace computer equipment, which can be huge. And I know a lot of us think like, oh my gosh, I have 10 producers in the office, and if somebody fried all the laptops and monitors, that's a $20,000 or $30,000 replacement expense right there. We discussed this one earlier, but the FTF fraud and digital asset restoration is huge. And then the cyber extortion or ransomware, business interruption and extra expense coverage is extremely broad and very helpful. So with this, with the first party coverage, if you've been to the previous webinar, I want us to think back to the florist, to Nora in good old Scranton, Pennsylvania. And when the hacker got into Nora's system and they ransomed her out of her online ordering system the week before Valentine's Day, she was dead in the water. This is 60% of her revenue coming through the door over 5 working days. And without access to her online booking system, most of her regular customers contacted a local competitor, assuming she was out of business, and losing 60% of your revenue. That business is likely going to go under if they don't have adequate coverage to subsidize the loss and quickly recover. So I think this is a pretty comprehensive review of first party coverage. Happy to answer any specific questions from there. Now, sorry to make you wait, but I did offer one more appetite overview. So please keep in mind that holistically we'll offer admitted and surplus products to US-based companies with revenue below $1 billion. Our admitted product is really set up to fit businesses under $250 million in revenue. I do list our top states here as New York, California, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Illinois. However, as we've been selling this through the Attune platform, we've seen that our cyber product is very competitive in all states that we're offering it in. Now take a look over at our ineligible list here. We will not consider quoting or insuring payment processors, any kind of adult entertainment, any casinos or gambling risks. We won't cover social media companies or services, data aggregators, security service providers or managed service providers. And at this time, we are not considering any cannabis risks. Some of our top industries are industrial, consumer direct and retail, healthcare, IT, financial services, and a really fun, interesting one that we've seen some traction and success with is crypto. So keep that in mind as well. So let's take a look at the claims calculator. And Morgan, would you mind kindly launching our poll?
You got it.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go through the claims calculator here, I realized today I could pick some industries and some business sizes, but I'd really love a little feedback from the crowd here. Do you have anything on your desk that you want to see claims stats for? See if we can get any assistance here in selecting. Awesome. All right, we got one in. All right, great.
All right, I'm going to give 10 more seconds. I know there's 3 of these, so.
Perfect. And I'll go ahead. We can give them a minute here, and I will answer a Dalton McConnell question.
Great.
We'll give Dalton a little spotlight here because of the great definition earlier. And I'll read this for everybody. So if a client's credit card info is hacked from a small business insured, and the hacker spends $10K on the customer's credit card, that $10K could be reimbursed to the client through third-party coverage. Or would that be paid to the business as first-party coverage, since the business could be held liable for the loss? Great question. Dalton, I love where your head's at. The real answer is both. Okay. And in true insurance form, like it's both and asterisk, right? So let's say our insured was at fault for the card number being leaked, right? Or being breached, however the hacker got access to it. We would absolutely cover the breach in data and the expense to the insured's client there, okay? That would likely come through maybe some legal defense coverage. Again, I'm not a claims rep, so I don't want to tell you exactly how we would cover it. I do know that that is absolutely covered. Now, there is going to be some first party coverage present here, because when payment card information is leaked or there is some kind of data privacy concern there, a regulatory body will also assess your insured a fine, which we will also cover. So Dalton, thanks for the great question. Really appreciate that. All right. And taking a look at our poll here. So it looks like the first industry we should pick is, let's go with real estate. Somebody asked a really good real estate question. I already have it selected. Whoops. Down, let's do the 0 to 25 employee band. Okay. And with our claims calculator, we can be realistic. So let's say it's a real estate company with 12 employees and they have $500,000 in revenue. Great. And then considering it's a real estate company, they are going to have some records, right? Thinking about an average real estate company, let's say that they have a couple thousand records here. All right, great. So now we will say that they have, considering 12 employees, I think we could probably consider they have standard security measures. And so we'll take a quick look at a composite claim. So in this industry, by this revenue band, with roughly 5,000 records managed, we'll see a median claim size overall, all perils, of about 80,000 bucks. This kind of 1 in 10 year loss could be much larger, well over $500,000. And that 1 in 100 year loss, let's be realistic, probably an FTF liability claim or a big ransomware, could be upwards of 3 mil. Now, considering the real estate industry here, I think let's go back to the question earlier and let's look at FTF. Wow. Okay. So again, median loss here on FTF, 70,000 bucks. Let's think about that fraudulent liar that was brought up earlier. That 1 in 10 year loss, I mean, still just shy of $500,000 bucks, and a $2 million loss here on $500,000 of revenue. Without good coverage present, this business is absolutely closing, right? And that owner is likely getting sued. Now, another interesting one to look at, because FTF and ransomware are 2 fastest growing perils. Wow. Yeah, ransomware is oftentimes scary. They get in, they take the data, and it's that decision, like, do I just pay the ransom and get everything back, act like it didn't happen? I won't face those regulatory penalties. Most importantly, I think for a lot of our small business owners, I won't damage my brand in the community, right? I don't want anybody to know this happened. That ransomware is huge. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this at this point. So Coalition offers a duty to pay policy. This is not a reimbursement-based policy. So with that in mind, there's this really cool concept. Our instant response team is filled with industry-leading experts from the tech and security field. And in real time, that 5-minute response time, Our security experts will go in, analyze how the breach happened, how much is ransomed. And part of this exercise is they will determine what is more expensive, paying the ransom to the bad actor or remotely like wiping all the data on the systems and rebuilding that for us. Now, what's cool here is our loss control measures are so good that we can drive claims costs down, keeping rates more level and more sustainable for your policyholders. It's going to make our policy easier for you to sell over time and much more reasonable for small business owners to keep on the books year over year. And then, wow.
Just gonna highlight one question here from Don. Don, thanks for all these questions. Really appreciate it. Do you have a cyber application for the client to complete? The answer is we can absolutely provide that for you. I'm going to be emailing everyone like with the recording and stuff from this webinar. We'll be sending you a bunch of just like we have a printout sheet like for your desk. We have that application. We're all online, so you would need to put all of this in the quote like Brennen showed previously. But if you need something to sign for your client or for your agency, like we definitely can provide that to you. So that'll be in that email.
Thanks for taking that one, Morgan. And please, everybody, keep in mind that the desk sheet that Morgan is referencing here contains our full admitted application. It also contains a second page that has each coverage line item, a description of the coverage, and a lot of those also include claims examples. We wanted that information available to you outside of the portal because we understand you're not always prospecting and selling when you're right in front of your computer. And I think we did just get two more questions that while we're right here, we can go answer. So first thing from Austin. Austin, great questions all day. So just to confirm, if it is a better option to pay the bad actor, can they file a claim for the expense of paying? Oh, absolutely. And Austin, so when I say that our security experts are going to make that decision in real time, keep in mind that if for some reason we would opt to rebuild your client's system, we're on the hook for all the business interruption expense. Okay, so your customer is first in mind here. Okay, but just know that, you know, in this case where the hacker didn't do a good job, you know, like the level of tech savvy between our security experts and your small business owner is very different, right? So if it's a quick and easy, we can boot them right out of the system and not pay them a dime, we'll absolutely do that. And I like the way you worded that. Thank you. And then Andrew, are policyholders required to have a written contract with an MSP? Absolutely not. The application is short and easy here. Almost none of the questions on the application are a knockout. Okay. So if you discover that your customer doesn't have any multi-factor authentication, that's okay. We will extend them an offer of coverage. If you notify us during the application process that in the past your insured has had a breach, that's okay. We will likely offer them coverage. Okay. And one big differentiator on Coalition is you don't have to be an IT expert to fill out the app. Okay. If you enter your customer's domain in our portal and allow us to run a security scan, you can answer anywhere from 8 to 10 questions and have a fully bindable quote in just minutes. Thanks for that question, Andrew. I appreciate it. Let's take a look at another claims example here, and I am like really running long. So we will go quickly and just let's take a look at financial services here. So the financials class, we'll go bigger. We'll say 3 million in revenue, and considering financials, this will be a bigger org. And with that in mind, they will have a lot more records. Okay. And so we'll also give them a strong. Okay. So median loss here on ransomware, 126 grand. I think these 1 in 10 year losses are really interesting to look at. On a $3 million revenue stream, this could still be, near an $800,000 claim. So at risk of running long, I will shift back to our presentation here, but if anybody has additional claims or questions regarding claims, please reach out. Part of the email Morgan is going to send later today is an opportunity to spend more time with myself, my team. We can walk you through the application process and really answer some additional detailed questions for you and your agency. So we'll jump back in.
I'm putting that information in the chat right now.
Thank you very much, Morgan. All right. So this is just a quick snapshot of what our coverage selection screen looks like in the portal. And what I really like to highlight here, I mentioned it earlier, that our desk sheet that you'll get a copy of today contains each coverage line item available, along with all the helpful tooltips that live right within our portal on these grayed out question marks. So as you go through coverage and go through your first, second, or hopefully many quotes, we'll have friendly reminders built throughout the portal to help you sound like a cybersecurity expert as you talk your clients through this. All right. And just wanted to say thanks everybody for being here. We have some webinars coming up. Morgan and her team are sending out content to you, and I would love to see you at another webinar and hope to see you again soon. And I really wanted to leave some time here at the end for some questions. And I will stop sharing my screen and we can take a look at the Q&A or any other comments that may come in. So I see one that just popped up a couple minutes ago from Lorenzo. Are there any specific requirements that a customer has to have on the system? Not necessarily. It's a really good question. And if you feel me being vague about this, none of the questions on our application are a knockout, Lorenzo. However, we do want to screen your customer's website and public domains. So there have been some instances I've seen already where insureds had significant security issues going on, and we had to notify them that it's a decline now. But if they make a few changes, implement a few pieces of security, we would absolutely consider insuring them in the future. I've also seen at a higher frequency, we'll offer contingent quotes where we'll say, hey, we would love to insure you and we'll allow you to bind right now, but we expect a few things to change in the next 30 days for us to continue the annual policy term. Lorenzo, thanks for the question. I appreciate that one.